Canadian Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's history includes votes against gay marriage, against cannabis legalization, and for restrictions on abortion, all the while building a career off of fighting for corporations and against the working class. But you wouldn't know that based on his growing support. So in this video, I'm going to explore a little bit about Pierre Poilievre, including a recent reaction from NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. And I'm also going to show you a clip from Pierre Poilievre just to give you an idea of what this guy, how this guy plays himself. Of course, he's a populist, despite having an entire career, a career politician, by the way, that he rails against career politicians. He can't stand career politicians. Yet that's all he's been as an adult. He joined as an MP when he was 25. He's 44. I'm annoyed because this is the tweet I saw from David Coletto here of Abacus Data saying, for the first time in our tracking, more people have a positive impression of Pierre Poilievre than have a negative view. Now, this is a combination, I think, of a variety of things. It's how Pierre Poilievre is positioning himself as this working class hero. It's the lack of criticism coming from the other two major parties. And it's also a lack of media criticism as well, where they're just buying into his message as opposed to, day in, day out, exposing how empty everything he's saying is. So before I get into Jagmeet Singh's clip and going over some of Pierre Poilievre's history, I got to just show you a clip of him. All right, so in case you're not familiar with Mr. Pierre Poilievre, here's his new Twitter profile. So this is a guy who's, I can find an old picture here. I'll get to this headline later. But that's how he used to present himself. This nerd in glasses. He now has a makeover. He's your everyman. Big smile. Just wearing a normal shirt. just the phoniness of it all is so amazing, considering this guy. He's only recently taken on this look. In an attempt to try and gain some more support, and apparently it's working on some dumb people. So, and I shouldn't just say dumb people. Look, people live their lives. If I didn't do this as a job, I would not be following this shit every day. It is not enjoyable to follow politics every single day. But as someone who does, I happen to know, a little more than most people do on someone like Pierre Poilievre. So here's let's go to his recent tweet, because he's a video here. And just check. All I got to do is play the first 10 seconds because it gives you an idea of how he is presenting himself.
Did you ever think about the injustice of living in a country where the people who build our homes can't afford to live in them? Who would have thunk it? But over the last 8 years, housing costs have doubled.
Yes. Pierre Poilievre is very concerned about those housing costs for working class Canadians, which is why big real estate executives are among his top donors. So I'll get to more on this in a bit, but let me first play for you some of Jagmeet Singh's comments here. Again, NDP leader. This is during his he's addressing the caucus here before Parliament's return. They've gone after they've criticized Pierre Poilievre before in terms of they being, Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh have attempted to criticize him before, but they really have not been able to have a consistent message about who this man is. They need to discuss his previous votes. That aside, Jagmeet Singh here, I think, is at least beginning to unravel a bit of who Pierre Poilievre really is.
Pierre Poilievre is not who he pretends to be. He actually would make life even harder for working people. When he had the chance to build homes people could afford, he failed. He let 800,000 affordable homes be sold off to rich developers. And under Justin Trudeau, there have been another 200,000 affordable homes lost. He claims to care about working people, but you'll never see Pierre Poilievre fighting alongside workers for higher wages. You'll never see him at picket lines. You'll never see him supporting workers on strike. He voted against having a minimum wage twice. And he passed laws to make it harder for unions to win better pay for workers. That's who he is. He made it hard to get a pension, delaying the retirement age to 67. One of his first ideas after becoming a leader was to cut the Canada Pension Plan. He wanted to give corporations more profits, but reduce pensions for workers. You see, for Pierre, it's all an act. He pretends to care, but he doesn't know how regular people live. He thinks if you live in a normal home, instead of a government-funded mansion like him, it's a shack. Pierre Poilievre has had government-funded dental care for almost all his adult life, but he wants to take it away from kids and their families who are just now able to get their teeth fixed.
So it's good to finally see some actual messaging here against Pierre Poilievre, understanding that he right now is poised, if an election were to happen anytime soon, poised to, at the very least, gain a lot of seats and very likely could become the next prime minister. So Jagmeet Singh here touching on various votes, various positions that Pierre Poilievre holds, be it anti-union, be it votes against minimum wage, be it dental care. He was against the dental care as well, which again, the dental plan from the NDP and by association the Liberals, because they worked together to get that done so the Liberals wouldn't face an election. The dental plan they put forward was nowhere near what is necessary. It is not, universal dental care. That said, more people are able to afford dental care now than they could before. Pierre Poilievre and his party voted against that. Meanwhile, he has dental care guaranteed to him because, again, he's worked in government since he was 25. Let's get some more specific. So I showed you this headline earlier from Press Progress, big real estate executives among top donors to Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives. So let me touch on a bit of what this is about, a clear example here. So housing experts and advocacy groups have blamed real estate investment trusts, or REITs, for the financialization of housing and skyrocketing rents across Canada. Property wealth is a massive source of inequality in BC and across the country. So one of these real estate investment trusts is Form Asset Management. So one of their properties was recently criticized for a Vancouver viral video that showed a housing unit in a former single-room occupancy hotel in the downtown east side that historically housed people at around shelter rates, and it's now listed as a micro suite available for $2,000 a month. So Pierre Poilievre tweeted about this ridiculously priced micro suite, acting like, oh, this is crazy. Housing after 8 years of Trudeau and the NDP. This is the reality here. So he tweeted about the video, blaming, as I said, despite the name of the company's CEO being listed as a top conservative donor. So here he is complaining about this company that jacked this price up, created this micro suite. The CEO of that company is a major donor of his. The idea that Pierre Poilievre cares at all, would do anything at all to help working class people get housing is completely insane. His entire career, 20 years of being pro-corporation, anti-union, anti-working class, anti-minimum wage, like his entire career has been built on aligning himself with massive corporations. But he understands people. He understands politics. He knows how to play people. Be it the way he changed his look to try and appeal to more people by being, I guess, more attractive, but also by playing this working class message that he knows people who don't pay close attention will fall into. And, if you're just passing by, you don't pay too close attention, you may think Pierre Poilievre is being honest about this stuff. Because why would you have any reason to doubt it? It's a message that resonates. It's what he's criticizing is true. Housing costs are ridiculous. But if you know anything about Pierre Poilievre's history, and he's betting on you not knowing, if you know anything about who the man is and who the party is, it's very clear they have no interest in actually helping the working class. Now, this also goes to more polling. That is depressing. So this from Abacus Data. Our latest poll shows a wide lead for the Conservatives that has been growing since May. The Conservatives lead in all regions of the province, aside from Quebec, and among both men and women. So, people often point to how, well, the Liberals and NDP, if you add them up, they're more than Conservatives, which is true. That said, this is how the system works, right? Like we have a multi-party system. The real issue is first past the post and the ability for, some with 38% to win a majority of seats, which has happened before. So that's the issue with the system. It's not that we have multiple parties, it's that we have first past the post and not a proper proportional representation or mixed number proportional or some other sort of uh, voting system that would accurately, at least more accurately, represent the intention of voters. But this is what we have right now, despite which, we get into this issue as well because there's so many topics that could come off of this. But the Liberals promised to end first past the post back in 2015. Then they explored the idea and dropped it. And now this is the result. So the Liberals are, just as much at fault here as anybody else for allowing this grotesque system to continue. But regardless, you have the Conservatives, in the lead here with 38%, Liberals 26, NDP 19. And more data here based on generation. So Gen Z or Gen Z for Canada. I don't know. I think it's just Gen Z across the board. I haven't heard Gen Z. Regardless, they're at 24% for Liberals. Millennials, 21% for Liberals. Gen X, 24. Boomer, 30. Conservatives, again, with the major chunk here across the board, from Gen Z to Boomer, 32, 40, 41, 39. Then you have the NDP with 26 for Gen Z, which is the largest chunk. So younger people are leaning more progressive. Green as well at 7%. And Millennials, 24 for NDP, 6% for Greens. Gen X, 17 and 3, NDP Greens, and Boomer, 14 and 3%. But 8% here, this is actually the most surprising piece of all this. It's the 8%, double anybody else in support for the PPC. So there is it's a small minority, but there is a chunk of people that are younger that have fallen into the PPC trap, which, whatever, not much to say on that right now. So that's that. And in terms of top issues, I just want to, I could sit here all day, but just mention the top issue for all generations is the rising cost of living, which also speaks to why Pierre Poilievre is so concerned about that issue, rhetorically. Not politically. He has no actual interest in policy to solve the problem. But rhetorically, he knows how to push the right buttons. Last couple things here. So I've covered this in a previous video. In fact, this video here, that if you search this title, you will find it on YouTube. Canadian politely destroys conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. So I broke down more Poilievre stuff in that video. But he claims he's a friend of the working class. He has spent years attacking Canadian workers. I've already discussed this at length in this video, but just quickly, the examples they pull here are worth mentioning again. So under Stephen Harper's government, Pierre Poilievre was one of the loudest supporters of the anti-union bill C-377, a likely unconstitutional piece of legislation that tried to force Canadian labor unions to disclose all of their internal finances, while big corporations would not have been subject to the same rules. Again, going to Pierre Poilievre being pro-corporation, anti-worker. Poilievre is also a major proponent of bringing U.S. right-to-work laws to Canada. Right-to-work laws weaken the labor movement by making it more difficult for unions to collect membership dues, which pay for the collective bargaining process. Wages and benefits are lower on average in states with right-to-work laws. So that is what Pierre Poilievre was trying and is trying to bring to Canada. That benefits massive corporations, hurts workers. Last thing is just a couple polls from other outlets. So Nano's data here showing a tie between the Conservatives and the Liberals, with the NDP far in third at 21%. And even though they're rising in support, the NDP are in this poll. And then from 338, their seat projection, and 170 is a majority. So they project here that Conservatives, if an election were held today, they would win a majority with 179. Very important to be aware of who Pierre Poilievre is. And look, I have videos as well criticizing the Liberals and Trudeau. I have videos criticizing the NDP, mostly around rhetoric and lack of fight and lack of real solutions. The NDP are very afraid of really attacking capitalism the way they should be. The Liberals are too friendly with corporations, but are not as friendly as the Conservatives are with corporations. So it's, regardless of who you support, you are compromising. That's always going to be the situation in almost any country. There is no perfect party, perfect politician, but there is the ability to understand, at the very least, who will get closer to helping you and helping society in general, and who is going to further push the government to just continue supporting massive corporations. Subsidizing fossil fuels is another big one that both the Liberals and the Conservatives are play a piece in, as well as the NDP did in BC. But that's a provincial issue. Anyways, there's so many different tangents to go on here. I just want people to know Pierre Poilievre is fake. That's it. All I should have to really show you is this image here. And I should do like a 10-second video. This is Pierre Poilievre. Do you trust him? This is what he used to look like. Now he looks like this. There's a reason. There's a reason for that. So he's just, God, please don't let this continue. Do not let this continue. Ensure people in your life know who Pierre Poilievre is, know his history. Again, you can, by the way, do your own research on this. At the beginning I said this, but you can look up these votes. These are votes he made. He voted against gay marriage, despite his dad eventually coming out as gay, which is interesting. But voted against gay marriage, voted against cannabis legalization, voted for restrictions on abortion. This is who the man is. Has always voted against unions or labor power in any way he can. Has always backed corporations. This is who the man is. I hope you understand that.